Alright, so in this video, I'm going to be making electric chicken nuggets. I refined the recipe, so let's get into it. Right now, I'm adding 1 cup of water to the saucepan that I have, and then I'm going to get that boiling. Once the water is boiling, I'm adding in 1/2 cup of quinoa. It's a little bit less than 1/2 cup because I ran out, but you want to put 1/2 cup of quinoa in there. And you're going to cook it like you normally cook quinoa. You let it sit. You cook it like you cook rice. Let it sit on low and cover the pan, and it'll puff up and you'll get your quinoa. Next, I'm adding in some organic baby bella mushrooms, portobello mushrooms, and I'm going to rinse them off first and then put them into the blender. So once that's in and the quinoa stops cooking, I'm going to go ahead and add the cooked quinoa into the blender as well with the mushrooms, and we're going to blend that. Oh, you also want to, I don't know, plug in your blender too. So my blender wasn't doing too much, so I had to push down the sides, and I also decided to add in like maybe I'd call that 1/4 cup of water, just to help it to start to actually blend, because you want this to turn to mush. If you use king oyster mushrooms, it'll look more like chicken nuggets because that will not blend brown like portobello mushrooms. It will blend white. But all I got is portobello, so that's what I'm using. And that is the consistency that you want it to be when you take it out. It's okay if it's still bits and pieces in there that's not fully blended, but you want most of it to be like a nice mush. Now we're gonna add the seasonings. So I'm using a teaspoon of sea salt. I use real salt. You can find that in Whole Foods, real sea salt. Right now I'm adding in a teaspoon of basil, a teaspoon of onion powder, maybe a teaspoon and a half of onion powder. I'm gonna say teaspoon and a half. A teaspoon of oregano, a couple shakes of allspice, a couple shakes of ginger, couple shakes of cayenne pepper. You want to do that to your discretion. I like mine a bit spicy. That's why you can see the red in there. All right, and now I'm gonna go ahead and add in believe that is 1/4 cup. Let me double check. Nope, it's half. Yes, it's 1/4 cup. 1/4 cup of spelt flour, and then I'm adding in 1/2 cup of chickpea flour to start. You're gonna need a total of 1 cup of chickpea flour, but I wanted to keep an eye on it and make sure that the mixture wasn't too dry before I added in the rest. I think that was the problem with the first chicken nuggets recipe that I had. It came out too stiff, too dry, and that's because the flour didn't allow for the moisture, and I did not add water in the original recipe. So you're gonna see me go back in there with another 1/2 cup of chickpea flour. I think that was 1/4 cup, not a 1/2 cup. It was definitely 1/4 cup. So you don't need a full cup, you need 3/4 cup. And then after we mix this thoroughly, we're gonna let it sit for about 10 minutes just to make sure that it's fully incorporated. Now we're gonna, I use about a tablespoon to make the nuggets. Scoop out a tablespoon and make your nugget size pieces. And we're gonna bake this in the oven at 350 degrees for 45 minutes. You wanna flip them halfway through, so flip them at the 20-minute mark. And boom, we got our nuggets out the oven. So the nuggets are already cooked. Now we're just gonna make the batter for it. So once again, I'm using chickpea flour. You could start off with about a quarter of a cup of chickpea flour. There's no real recipe to this part. You just wanted to make it as egg-like as possible. I'm having the same consistency. I'm adding a bit of cayenne pepper, a bit of salt, and a bit of oregano just to season it. And then, add some water to it. You want it kind of thick. You do not want it to be super runny. And you just want to mix until you get that middle consistency, that kind of thick egg-like consistency, like an egg yolk consistency. Depending on how much you're frying, how much of the nuggets you're going to make at that moment is how much you should make. This is how much I made. Then you also want to get some cereal. I have spelt cereal. And I blended that to make my breadcrumbs for the coating for the chicken nuggets. And blending it, in the last video, I did not blend it. I tried to crush it myself. That did not work. You need to blend it in order for it to look the way that it looks in the photo. I realized that I didn't catch me actually battering them. So what you want to do is you want to take the nuggets, you want to dip it in the egg mixture, and then you want to coat it in the cereal breadcrumbs, and then you want to go ahead and fry them. Like I said, they're already cooked, so you don't really need to fry them too much. You just want the outside to get that crispy, chicken nuggety look to it. So maybe 45 seconds on each side, if that. And if you do that and you see how I flipped that first one and it came out a bit brown, I had it for a tad bit too long, but they still came out really, 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 really good. Like, we bodied these. All right, and this is the final picture. This is how everything came out, and this is a great snack to have in the fridge. You do not need to fry all of it at once. You can leave the unfried ones in the fridge and kind of have it as a snack ready to go. All you have to do is batter them, flip them around, fry them real quick, and then boom, you have a great snack. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching.